Hello and welcome back, guys, to episode 3. This is Sarah.
And I'm Lori.
So, we finally launched our first episode, which is really exciting.
So exciting, and we're getting good feedback.
Yeah, so far so good. It hasn't been it's been like a soft launch, but it's been pretty good. I am feeling a little brain foggy today, so bear with me. This might take me a while to get into topics of conversation. Yeah.
It's true. I have brain fog every single day. It's part and parcel of the whole ADHD thing, I think, and plus it's really humid outside and kind of gross, and it would have been nice to have slept till about noon today, I guess.
It's one of those days. Yeah, I woke up. Do you guys ever just wake up and just know that everything's going to feel off? Mm-hmm. And I tried so hard to stick to my routine and work out, and it just wasn't, and I'm here and I have lots of things to say, but I'm just a little bit off. So forgive me if it takes me a little bit longer to get to it.
Mine all started out this morning with stepping on the cat when I got up to go to the bathroom first thing, and it's just been constant ever since. So.
You stepped on the cat?
I stepped on the cat. Poor little thing. She follows me. She likes to have a little parade in the morning when I go to the bathroom. And she gets in front of me and she weaves back and forth. So no matter which way I turn, she's going to turn that way. And I don't know why she does it. I don't know why cats do that. That's a thing, I guess. And I'm a cat lady. I should know why, but I don't know. So I stepped on her tail, and I got this huge, awful sound, and she looked like I had just murdered her. So now she's sitting over somewhere, probably pouting right now, and will find a way to make herself known here in a few minutes, probably. You might even hear her meow.
She was staring at us last time we were recording. She's always there.
She's very smart.
Looming.
She's a Reiki cat. When I do Reiki massage on people, she will sit and just sit on the couch and just watch me, and then she'll close her eyes. It's almost like she's in tune with me. If I were, she would be my familiar as a witch. She would be my familiar.
That's so cool. What's your cat's name?
Avery.
Avery. Oh, I love that name.
But she's Avery, and she's Little Cat, because with the first day that we got her, my husband came in the house. He didn't know we were getting her. And he came in the house,
Surprise.
And she was over at the window. Yeah. She was at the window, and he looked at her and said, "Well, hi, Little Cat." And she's been Little Cat ever since.
She's a beautiful cat.
Even though she's not little. She's gigantic.
The coloring on her is fantastic. I don't, Lori knows this, I'm not a fan of cats. It's just not my animal, but your cat's beautiful. It's very particular. Kind of like children. It's very particular about things that I like, but I do like your cat.
She's our biggest fan.
I have a picture. I'll post it on our new Instagram.
Yes.
What a great segue. So we have an Instagram account now for this podcast. It's Mindful Witchery Podcast. So you can just head on over there. And I think what we're going to do is post every time we launch an episode. And we'll just kind of post fun pictures of our setup and just fun things that happen in between things we talk about. It will just be kind of a casual thing. We could just post pictures. I think it'll be fun.
And this will be my chance to get into the world of Instagram, because I have very, very hesitant. I have an Instagram account. I've posted maybe 3 times in the past year. And I have been very reluctant. But all of a sudden now I really want to give this Instagram thing a try.
Yes. And Instagram is my jam. I've been using it for business and personal purposes since I get started, I think. And just over the years, I've learned more about it. And I am a hipster of Instagram. Yes. I'm not an influencer, but I like to run my page, my business on there. I have a personal page, and so does Lori. We can, if you guys want to follow us on some crazy adventures that we do separately. It's usually just pictures of food for me at this point.
It's pictures of mountains and landscapes for me. I'm a big landscape girl.
All the cemeteries we visit, which we'll try to start posting on our Mindful Witchery podcast page, so you can check that out. And also, thank you for everybody for all the amazing feedback so far on launching our first episode. We haven't picked a day yet that we're going to launch our episodes on, so we'll have to talk about that. So if there's a good day you guys think, just email us or DM us in Instagram. You can do that now. Or any suggestions or anything you guys want us to talk about, or anything really. We're pretty open about talking about anything. So mindfulwitchery@gmail.com. You could send us stories of living in New England, your witchy stories, anything.
Pictures of cemeteries that you've been to that you absolutely loved. Just a comment or a blurb just telling us about your day. Anything can be a topic for our show.
Yeah. Actually, I did. Oh, I forgot to mention this before we got going. I listen to a podcast called Opinions That Don't Matter. And I'll totally post that below because I love their podcast. They don't know me or anything, but the woman, Katie Morton, she's pretty well-known mental health therapist on YouTube. And she does these really great videos. But her and her husband does this podcast. And they have a segment called What Grinds Your Gears?
Oh.
And they talk about things that grind their gears. And on the way over here, like in theme of how my morning was going, I just kept thinking about all the things that really like disturbed my vibes. And I'm like, that could be kind of a fun thing to talk about in the beginning, like something that like, what throws your vibes off? And because I was thinking, because I had this person in front of me all the way here. I live about, I don't know, like 50 minutes away from you, an hour away. I live in the Franklin County area. But anyway.
I'm in Hampshire County.
Yeah,
so.
in Hampshire County. More towards like Amherst, Northampton area. See, I'm losing track what I was talking about.
Things that grind your gears.
Oh.
Something ground your gears this morning.
Oh my God, this person was driving in front of me and they were swerving all over the road. And not only were they swerving all over the road, one, they must have been like 3 feet tall, like a leprechaun driving this car because I couldn't see them. And they were driving like 20 miles under the speed limit. So I'm not advocating people to speed. But you should also not drive, that endangers other people and driving so slow that it endangers other people. And if you're at a certain age, I'm guessing this person was old, I personally think that you should redo your driver's license. You should go for another test because this particular person either needed glasses or were having some type of emergency because they didn't use their blinkers. They were swerving all over the road, and what really grinds my gears is when somebody turns and takes 40 hours to turn.
Oh, yeah.
For no reason.
Just, I'm going to turn. It's like their thought process is...
I am going to turn now, and just very...
Yeah, it's like metacognitive instead of cognitive. It's at every step they're analyzing.
Yeah, and I learned to drive around Boston. So when I moved out to the Western Mass area... or to southern Vermont where I lived before, I was around like 18, 19. And I could not understand. I used to get pulled over so much because I didn't think I was speeding. I was driving normal for living around Boston. It's very cutthroat.
Kill or be killed.
Kill or be killed. You cut in front of people. You drive fast. You know how to parallel park. It took me a really long time to adjust to how people drive out this way, and I don't know if I'm used to it. So that it threw my vibes off when I got here. I'm like, that son of a biscuit.
You haven't lived until you've driven in the South.
Oh no, yeah.
You haven't lived. We take our own sweet little time doing everything possible that we need to do, and we yield for lefters, and we wave as they take advantage of our niceties. And we just yield for everything. Everybody yields. There's sometimes standoffs on yielding. And people
you go.
No, you go, sweetheart. You go.
Oh, look at you. Bless your heart.
Exactly. And so it was funny when I moved up here because I felt like I was getting run over. Because we went from North Carolina to Hawaii where everybody drives slow. And if it rains, they stop.
Really?
And... So I went from there to Massachusetts where I was so afraid that I didn't drive on 91 or the Pike until I had been here for about 5 years.
Yeah. It's a whole different ballgame.
It's no bless your heart, I'm going to yield for you because I like you thing.
It's like, why are you in my way?
But now it's different because now I'm so used to being here. I've been here for 20 years that when we go back down south to home, I'm beeping my horn at people and I'm yelling out the window, go, what's your problem?
What's your problem?
Exactly. Yeah. What is he doing? Oh, he's turning left. Well, he needs to turn.
He needs to turn faster.
Yeah, my mom thinks I've turned into some kind of monster.
No, it's just normal. Not so much, I don't know about Western Mass. Like, it's weird out here. But I grew up, like, north of Boston. Like, my driving instructor was this old lady, like... if anybody else went through this, let me know. The Aganis Driving School. I think it was in Wilmington, Massachusetts. But this woman, I would be shocked, one, if she's still alive, in 2 if she still works there.
Mm-hmm.
But she chain smoked. And every 5 or 10 minutes, she made us pull over so she could stand outside the car and chain smoke. And she had this raspy voice. And oh my God, I loved her.
Left at the corner.
I loved her. And she was so judgmental. And I wish I remembered her name. But if anybody who's listening to this who knows the area and knew me from back then, just let me know if you know her name. Send us a message. I would love to remember her name. She was great. But yeah, I mean, my driving test was fantastic. Well, I learned how to drive, so.
I just remember back from growing up, my grandfather, he was the rebel. He was a Southern rebel, man. I mean, he just went against the grain on everything. And he died when he was 94 years old, and he still had his driver's license. And we have a videotape of him, actually, when he was like 92. He got a speeding ticket. And my cousin Tim said to him, well, Pawpaw, why'd you get a speeding ticket? And he said, some asshole in front of me was going too slow, some old man, and I had to pass him, and I just kept going too fast. Some old man. The man was probably 60. And yeah, that was my grandfather. He went against the grain for everything. But my son says to me, we were down south last time, and I was screaming at somebody in front of me who was trying to turn left. And my son looked at me and he goes, Mom, I think that you're officially a masshole. Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the club.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, it's hard to drive anywhere else. Mm-hmm. Like, we've both lived and traveled all around the country, and I feel most comfortable driving probably in New England, because I know how, and actually in San Francisco.
Wow.
I love driving there. I don't know why. Like, I'm not sure why. I just love driving there.
Have you been on that road, that curvy, I don't remember what the name of it is.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That curvy road.
Yeah.
Like the world's most curvy road or something.
I just had a blast. Like, actually driving in California in general was a blast, because you're literally like in the city, San Francisco. I used to live around like Redwood City. I stayed with a friend there, and I lived up in Chico for a bit. But all on the coast there, it's just some of the most fun roads to drive, because you're like in the city, then all of a sudden you're in Napa Valley, in like the desert, there's nothing. Then all of a sudden you're in the redwoods, and it's gorgeous. In 3 hours, there is nothing. Like, oh, I'm just going out for the day, 4-hour drive somewhere. It's like no big deal there.
I always loved driving in Hawaii, because it was, everybody kind of was slow about going places and relaxed about their driving. It wasn't like having somebody behind you honking the horn. You'd never have seen that in Hawaii. And we would drive over from the windward side to the leeward side, and it was the Polly Lookout. And it was just a beautiful drive. And there was one way to get there. Now there's the H3, which is a whole other highway that wasn't there when we were there. But there was only one way to get to Honolulu from the windward side of the island, and that was the Polly Highway. And it was just the most gorgeous, gorgeous drive. You drove through a rainforest, basically.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
It was so relaxing. And now I'm such a nervous driver here that I won't drive. I don't drive to Boston. I take the train. I go to Concord, and I take the train, because I just am so afraid. Now, my husband, he'll drive anywhere, anytime, and he's a fabulous driver. He should be the one teaching my son to drive. I'm not the one to be doing that, because my son is going to get nothing in terms of highway driving. Let's drive from Belchertown to Palmer, which is a 15-minute drive. Highway in the woods. You know, the other day I actually got up the courage to say, let's drive to Northampton.
Ooh,
so
city.
We drove through the new rotary that's off the Cool
good
Bridge,
idea.
And all that. So it was pretty controlled, but at the same time I was a nervous wreck. I'm trying to put the brake on my side of the car.
The what's it called? The oh shit handle?
Yes, the oh shit handle.
And that's another thing too. I feel like what grinds my gears, or like what throws my vibes, is people who don't know how to use rotaries. How it's so dangerous. And I'm going to throw Connecticut under the bus, because I don't know what's wrong with people from Connecticut, but please learn how to drive. Like, they need to put some money into teaching the people who live there how to drive. Like, and if you know, like, New England, you know that Massachusetts, please, Connecticut people, don't come here. Please don't drive here. Take the bus.
Please don't drive in our rotaries.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you. I feel so negative. Like, it's like, oh, I'm getting all worked up.
It's good to get this off your chest. And if you guys want to comment or send us an Instagram or anything about what grinds your gears or what driving issues you run into, if you live in this area or not, please feel free, because I know everybody has something that pisses them off. It's part of human nature. I have to make sure that I either meditate before or after or both driving somewhere that's complicated. Mm-hmm. So Boston, yeah.
I grew up there, and it's the worst place to drive. It's kind of like what's that game where you have to like? It's kind of like a puzzle, mm-hmm. Boston, because they're constantly changing what one ways are, and it's almost like, you know what? It's like the Harry Potter stairs.
Yeah.
In the movie, like the stairs are constantly changing. Mm-hmm. That's what it's like. And good luck. Even people who live there have no mm-hmm. idea.
It changes every time we go, and we only go maybe twice, 3 times a year, just depending. But it's every time it changes. Since the big dig, everything has kind of gotten,
oh my god,
just mired up in crazy things.
Yeah,
so
it's my least favorite city, to be honest with you. The aquarium's great. Mm-hmm. Faneuil Hall's wonderful. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's other redeeming qualities, but that area is just not my favorite. Mm-hmm. I was so happy to actually get out of that area when my family moved. Mm-hmm. Actually, segue, we're going to talk about Vermont today.
Yes. Yay, Vermonters.
So my family moved to Brattleboro, Vermont, which we talked about in the first episode, mm-hmm. the weirdness that is Brattleboro in southern Vermont. But we wanted to talk about Shirley Jackson today.
And you know something? I actually, Sarah, was an English teacher and didn't realize and never really thought about Shirley Jackson being from Bennington, Vermont. And I have to say, I mean, she's one of those obscure kind of writers who wrote collective short stories. And I remember in school, and probably a lot of you remember this, it was mandatory reading for a long time, and I taught it as well, the story The Lottery.
Was it mandatory?
Yes, it was mandatory for a long time when I was teaching. That tells my age. Because nothing's mandatory anymore. They can kind of pick and choose, I think, pretty much.
No, the Parent-Teacher Association made sure of that.
Yeah.
They were trying to ban Harry Potter when I was in school. How ridiculous is that? That's a whole different tangent there.
And we must talk about Harry Potter at some point. Because I've never read Harry Potter.
I have so much to say about Harry Potter. But that's kind of it, too, is I have never read any Shirley Jackson. Mm-hmm. And I've actually never read a lot of the classic literature out there, mm-hmm. For many reasons, which I'll get into, but Lori has.
And it's a great opportunity. Like, moving here was like coming to Mecca, because it was just, when I realized that I was going to be in an area where my very favorite author and human being, Ralph Waldo Emerson, was from, I just couldn't.
What town?
Concord.
Concord, really?
The Sage of Concord, the father of transcendental literature. And he and Bronson Alcott, Louisa May Alcott, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Henry David Thoreau are all from the same area. And that just, to go there, like we make the pilgrimage once a year. My husband calls it the pilgrimage. And we go, and I put an apple at Ralph Waldo Emerson's grave, and I go through the whole process of grieving and things like that. And because when I write, when I read, everything is influenced by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And to go where he stepped, to go where, you know, the Revolutionary War began, it's mind-blowing. The energy there is so old and so historic. It just almost is too much.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's, you know, there's so many authors. I mean, Herman Melville was from Pittsfield. Emily Dickinson from Amherst. Mm-hmm. All those from Concord. I mean, Boston speaks for itself. There's just so much literary history here and so many movements that were started here. I remember, I'm going to tell this story. I know you've heard this story. Oh, no,
please go. I find this so fascinating.
When I first came to Massachusetts, I had moved here. We had moved here, and I was kind of feeling lost because I just didn't understand the culture. I didn't understand the area. I was from the South. I just moved back from Hawaii. I felt so out of place, and my energy was really off. And my husband one day says, let's drive to Concord. And I'm like, you really want to go to Concord? And he said, yep, I'll take you to Concord. Let's go see what this place is all about. So we went, and he took me to Ralph Waldo Emerson's house. And they do guided tours, which I think is just the most amazing thing, that you can walk in his footsteps. You go into the library where he did his writing.
That is the coolest thing. See, I love stuff like this.
He wrote the Divinity School address where I was standing. And so I was trying to hold it together.
I could just, not to interrupt, but I could just see you in the room, just like with your eyes closed, just like taking it in, like.
And I was trying really hard to look normal because there were other people on the tour. There were about 20 people. I was trying to look normal, but it was more like I was trying to hold it all in. And I was fine. We walked into the kitchen. I saw his cane and his hat that he would put on right before he went out into the woods, Walden Woods. I held it together. I was fine. And Roger couldn't believe it. He was like, I can't believe you're holding it together like this. And so we started walking up the stairs to where his sleeping quarters were. And I saw a bust of Alfred Lord Tennyson. And the woman that was giving the tour said, this bust was made for Emerson because he and Tennyson were such good friends. And it was created by the man who did the Lincoln Memorial in Washington. Well, for some reason.
Daniel Chester French.
Yes.
That's his name.
Oh, you're good, see.
Because he has works in the Green River Cemetery.
Oh.
Which we're going to see next week.
That's fantastic.
Anyway, side tangent.
Well, I was fine until we got to that point. And then I literally burst into tears. I mean, and these weren't little tears like coming down my face, tears of emotion. These were sobs to the point where everybody was looking at me like I had a nervous breakdown or a psychotic break. And my husband looks at me and he goes, sweetheart, he said, he's not a rock star.
But he is.
But he is to me. I mean, it was really, it's so emotional. And that hasn't changed. Anytime we go to Concord, I'm still so emotional for days afterwards. It's almost like this real spiritual energy connection with Ralph Waldo Emerson. It always has been. I had a professor in college who, Dr. Murray Arndt, he was a poet laureate in North Carolina. He read a lot of Emerson in one of my classes, and it just made me it made me who I am right now. Like it kind of made me into the person I am now. I wouldn't be who I am now, which isn't perfect, obviously, but I wouldn't be the person I am now, the creative mind that I have, without having read Emerson.
What do you think it was do you think it was like your experience in college and just where you were in your life that made it so powerful?
That has a lot to do with it, but it's also just the Transcendentalist movement in itself was all about free thinking. And it was all about the natural world and how you gain your inspiration, not internally, but externally within nature. Nature gives you that energy that causes the creative process. And there were two types of romantics or transcendentalists. There was the natural transcendentalist, like Emerson, and then there was the psychological romantic, which was Poe.
See, and I'm more into that.
And Poe was about searching internally for your inspiration.
The deep darkness.
Yeah, the darkness within you. Yeah. That everybody had that darkness within them. And Emerson believed that everything that you received externally from nature, from water, from trees, from grounding. I mean, he was right in there with the whole grounding movement before grounding was grounding.
He's like the father of the woo. And I didn't know that about him.
I wrote an article, it's been probably 3 years, connecting Emerson to Buddhism. Wow. Because a lot of his beliefs came from Buddhist culture. And he didn't even know it. He was just the most unlikely. I mean, he was a Unitarian minister, for goodness sake. He was the most unlikely father of Transcendentalism. And reluctantly, he was the leader of Transcendentalism.
I didn't know anything about him, to be honest with you. This is all like news to me. And I feel like I should know it, and I'm a little embarrassed that I don't.
Everybody go and pick up a copy of The American Scholar, the Divinity School Address, Nature. Pick up those things. And he was also a poet as well. Much less known for his poetry. But I totally just got us off track because we were talking about Shirley Jackson. And
oh, no, it's okay. No, like seriously. Well, that was something I wanted to talk about today, too, was, I mean, so many things, but that a lot of the great works and stuff, I know the names, but I missed a lot of school. And I was never really, the fact I even graduated was a miracle because of ADD and a bunch of other things. But I never had the opportunity for these amazing authors and poets to even be introduced to them, really. I don't think it was ever pushed upon me to be like, you should probably read these because I skirted by so magnificently, actually. I don't know how I did it, but...
Because you're brilliant. That's why.
I'm really good at adapting. But I think back now, I'm like, I really wish... Like, it almost makes me sad because I'm like, I know all these things. I know Emily Dickinson. I know about them, and I know they're important. But I have a really tough time going back now and reading them, if that makes sense.
It doesn't, but in some ways, Sarah, that's an advantage because I've taught people who didn't finish high school, who go back for their GEDs, and who get exposed through junior college a lot of times to Emerson, Dickinson, a lot of different writers that they weren't exposed to, and because of their own life experience, because they bring so much more to the table as an adult. It takes on a much deeper meaning. Because at that point you're a captive audience. You're not when you're in high school. You're
no.
Sometimes if you like it, great. But that's the frustration of being an English teacher is if you like it, that's super, and you feed us. You feed our enthusiasm. But if you don't like it, it's a real downer. Yeah. But as an adult, you're kind of a captive audience, and you're willing to kind of open up to what's being said, and you get you derive much more meaning from it. So in a way, it's an advantage.
Better.
Yes.
Yeah, it's probably like different levels at this point of my understanding of people and the world and nature based off of like my own experiences. That's how I feel about school in general, because I'm going to be going back to school this fall, and that I'm so excited because I'm coming at it as an adult who already has lived a life, a few lives actually. Like I've lived all these other experiences, and
you've traveled, and you know so much more of the world than you did when you were 16.
That's awesome.
It is. It's going to be a blast for you because
I cannot wait.
You're an adult, and it takes on a whole different meaning.
I'm so excited.
And when you get a chance, and I always recommend this, guys, just pick up some Emerson. There's a lot of really good texts. If you go on Amazon.
We'll post those links below, actually. We'll get a few and post them there.
There's a lot of good anthologies for Emerson, and you would probably really enjoy it as an adult, something you may not have enjoyed as a kid so much. But I'm really disappointed that Emerson has kind of been taken out of the curriculum.
I didn't know that.
I look at things that are being taught now. Like I just remember learning and teaching The Great Gatsby. That's Scott Fitzgerald.
Oh, that's one of my
favorite
books.
And what a wonderful book
It's such a wonderful book. I've read it as an adult, again, and the movie, obviously. I love Leo.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to my Leo.
And then the classic one with Robert Redford and Mia Farrow. You get lost in that. And now kids don't get a chance to get lost in that anymore. And it's... I don't know if they would because it's a different time, but wow. I mean, I wasn't born in the Jazz Age, so...
It's one of my favorite
eras. It is it's my favorite novel of all time, and just I don't even have to think twice about it.
I love it. Hey guys, this is Sarah from the future. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to part 1 of today's episode. You can find part 2 next week, launching Friday at 1 p.m. on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe and turn on those notification buttons. See you guys next week. Bye.